Hi, this is Ting and this is Paul Smith. And so now I'm in his office and I invite him, because this is recently I'm in Sydney, so I invite him to do a simple video to share something about tarot, because I already knew he's famous about tarot. So I think someone of you already know these books, because I know, and I know people surrounding me know that. So today I invite Paul to share a story about his tarot story and the books. And if you have the books, that's fantastic, because you're lucky, because our video today will show you something about these books to make you more comfortable and function when you're reading these books. Yeah. Okay, so this is Paul. So can you make some simple intro about yourself?
Okay, so I've been reading the tarot since 1984, and I first started with palmistry in 1978, so it's a long time now, and I've written 14 books now actually, but only 12 of them have been published. The next two are coming out this year and next year.
Yes, so can you share some story about your tarot journal?
Well, let's start with this one. Okay, this one. So, firstly, how I got into the tarot was very simple. I was working in a shop as a palmist, reading hands. And there was a tarot reader next to me, and we worked 10-hour days, 6 days a week, so 60 hours a week in this shop. And sometimes you'd have no clients for the whole 10 hours. Really quiet, because we started in winter. And out of boredom, he taught me the tarot, and I taught him palmistry. So we told each other our life stories, and then finally he said, listen, would you be interested in learning the tarot? And I said, no, because if I came back next week, I'd get different cards and it would mean something else. And he said, not really. You might get different cards, but they'll actually have a similar meaning. And then one example really stood out to me. It was a woman who came for a reading every Sunday at 4 o'clock for 7 weeks. And I heard him through the curtain, because we just had a curtain between the two of us. And I heard him say, the dark-haired man's left you, there's a blonde-haired man coming, and he's soft and sensitive, he's kind, he'll listen to you, he'll be kind to you. And then the next week, there's a kind man coming to replace the very ambitious man, and he said the same thing over 7 times in 7 weeks, and I thought, has he got only one limited story, and I've heard all the stories, you know? And actually it wasn't that. I noticed after week 5, it's the same woman. I don't know why she's coming back every week. Why? Didn't she hear him? And after 7 weeks, she didn't come back. And I said to him, you're very patient with this woman. Each time she came back and asked the same questions. Why do you think she hasn't come back this week? And he said, either the new man's arrived or she's heard me. And I thought, wow, this really actually works. And so then I was ready to listen. And I worked it out one day. I had 450 hours of private tuition with him. And after that, I was just straight into reading. So before, we were there together 8 months in this shop, and by month 5, I was giving readings, and off I went. And I could guess eventually the cards he had on the table behind the curtain, and we had a bet. I said, if I get 5 out of the 7 cards on the table correct, you owe me a piece of baklava. It's a little Greek pastry, very sweet pastry filled with honey and nuts. And over the first month or so, he got bigger and bigger and bigger. I was paying him every night. I was paying him baklava, because I kept losing. And then finally, after about a month and a half, 2 months, I started winning. I could hear what he's saying. That's this card reversed, that's this card. And then I thought, I'm ready now. So you can learn by listening, you can learn by studying, but I think the most important thing is to give readings. You have to give readings. And it can't be to yourself, and it can't be just written readings. It's got to be spoken out loud. You've got to look someone in the eye and tell them what you see, because that's what real tarot reading is. And so there is pressure in that, because you've got the pressure to be right, to be accurate, and when you look at a tarot card on the table, there could be 15 meanings. You've got to know, today this means this, and it just comes with practice. The more you do it, the better you get at it.
Oh, you already share them the experience. You already share them the experience. Yeah. So I want to ask another question. Is because you being the tarot reading and tarot teacher almost 40 years, right?
Yeah.
So how you feel about that? What's the tarot working change you?
Well, the tarot is good. I love it for short-term questions. It's really good. I still use it for myself sometimes. You shouldn't. And I always ask in my advanced courses, can I have a show of hands who agrees with me that you shouldn't read for yourself? And all the hands go up. And then I say, can I have a show of hands? Who's read for themselves in the last 30 days? And all the hands go up. So everybody does it. Everyone knows it's wrong, but they do it. And what I say is, when you're doing a course in the tarot, we practice with everybody. Everyone practices with each other. So if you can find a buddy, someone you like, that can practice with you and you like the way they read, then you've got a tarot reader for life. In other words, they give you free readings, you give them free readings, and I've got people who've done my courses that 20 years later they're friends, and they still say, she still reads for me. It's still great, you know. Like, it's just nice to have that. We learned at the same time. We learned at the same way. We have the same teacher, the same handbooks, the same notes, and we read the same. It's good, you know. And so that's just one way. And with this book came about because it was I started making notes for students. Students said, you talk too quickly, can we have some notes? So it was 5 pages of notes, and then 10, and then 25. I got up to 210 pages of notes, and I said, this is terrible. And one of my students said, can I take these home and word process them? This was before computers, very early days of computers, 1990. And she brought them back, and everything was laid out beautifully with headings, and I said, you know, this is a book. And she said, yeah. And after that I thought, wow. And so within 2 or 3 years I had found a publisher, and now I use the tarot to find the publisher. I asked the cards. First I went to a Mind, Body, Spirit bookshop, and I found 11 publishers in Australia that published tarot books. And then I asked the cards, every one of them, and the card said yes to 3. So I just sent samples to those 3, and all 3 said yes. I thought maybe they all would have said yes. So after a month or so, I sent the 8 other publishers samples. I didn't hear back. I heard back from one of them. I sent this in 1991, I think I said, or 92, and in the year 2000, one of them came back to me and said, we're sorry, we don't have faith that your book would sell very well. I wrote back saying, well, it sold quite well in Australia, and there's a Chinese language version, and there's a Czech language version, you know, so doesn't matter to me, you know. Obviously your people in your marketing department or in your editing department don't know what would sell and what wouldn't sell. But anyway, it went that way. So then I started teaching the advanced course. That became this book. And then people...
so tarot master course.
Yeah. And then they started asking, you know, can we have some notes? Can we have some notes? And I thought, oh, here we go, you know. And then for this one, I wrote this one during COVID, and...
this new one.
Yeah, this is a new one. And it's quite a thick book. It's 450 pages. So what they said was, would you write one more tarot book? And I said yes. But I thought, I've got other books I want to write. So I thought, I'll put everything I can into this one book so I never have to write another one. You know? And that was my plan. And so it's got lots of examples from my practice, lots of examples from clients, how to deal with difficult clients. I've had clients say, that's rubbish. One lady said to me, you gave me no more information than a complete stranger would give me, you know. And then after 6 weeks, it was a really strange thing. Her friend is a regular client of mine. She came because her friend recommended me. I said to her, look, the man you're in love with, actually he's got another partner and she's about to have his child. And the woman said, that's never going to happen, you're making this up. And she stormed out. And I have a policy, if someone's unhappy with the reading, then I'll refund their money, but they don't get the recording. And she wrote me a furious email the next day, and I said, look, I'll refund your money, that's fine, but you won't get the recording. And it's hard to remember it because I talk quickly, there's a lot covered in a reading. But then 6 weeks later, her friend comes for a reading and said, sorry about my friend, she was really angry, she was on fire, you know. And I said, what's happened? She said, well, just as you said that when the baby's born, he will leave her. And she said 2 weeks ago, he texted her and said, my new partner's just had a baby, I'm not coming back. And she thought, whoa, that's really scary. So she said, my friend wants to come back for another reading. I said, no, because it's just, someone like that, you don't want someone being explosive at a reading, but it happens. And so it's in this book because you have to, if you're in private practice and you're giving readings all the time, you get the best and you get the worst of people. You know?
Oh, you mean this example is in this book?
Yeah. And so I didn't used to put examples in the books, but I started doing it because students learn a lot from watching from examples. You know, so I noticed it in demonstrations in a class. I ask for a volunteer, they come up, everybody gathers around, they watch how the reading unfolds, and there's a lot they see that I'm not describing. Just how you're shuffling, how much, when you pause, when you ask the client, does this make sense to you? You know, you have to do this one from time to time, because if it doesn't, we'll stop and I'll take a bit more time. I'll add an extra card, or I'll find a way to help it make sense to the client. Doesn't matter if it makes sense to me or not. it's got to make sense to them. They're the person paying for it, you know. And and then in this, it has a little bit about counselling techniques as well, because some of the work we do is actually counselling. So some of the clients who come to see me really should be seeing a psychologist or a therapist or that sort of thing, but they have a negative association with that. So they'll come and see a tarot reader, and I laugh and think, wow. But a lot of people, I'm trained as a counsellor, but a lot of tarot readers are not. And I think if you're going to be a professional reader, it's good to get a bit of basic training in counselling, because clients cry a lot, you know. And it's not that I'm not being mean to them. It's just that someone's heard me, and it's a really important thing. I have a regular client. She was doing some lessons with me in psychic development. She's quite a good intuitive, and she arrived one day, and I said, she sat down and she just sighed. I said, you seem like you're a bit invisible. It seems like no one's noticed you this week. And she said, try this year. And it was August. So it's 8 months into the year, and she lived with her husband and 2 children. She was invisible to them. And I thought, wow, sometimes as a reader, that's your job. You're the person who's paying attention to the client, listening to them, being there for them.
Wow. Thank you. I learn a lot also. Because sometimes I reading also.
Yeah.
So I think the final question, because now I'm in post office and I saw 3 different books about tarot. So can I have do some small intro about 3 books and what are different? How they read these 3 different books?
This is the basic book. So if you're going to start, this is exactly the foundation you need, because you need a solid foundation. I've got students and clients of mine who are starting with this one. It's not good, because when I wrote this one, I said, I'm not writing a beginner's book. I assume they've learned. I've assumed you've already read these 2, then you're ready for this. Because you'll miss things, you know. You could read it, but you'll miss a lot. And you need the basics. Basically, if I'm going to play classical violin, I better know. I better know my scales. I better know my keys, signatures. I better know all that. There's all that basic stuff you have to know. So this is intro. This is intermediate. Although it's called masterclass, it is an advanced book. But then this one has lots of examples in it. So this is if you want to be in private practice as a professional reader, that's the book you're going to need. And actually, I've got lots of people across the world saying to me, I've got it open all the time when I'm giving readings, you know. And I used to have this one open at the beginning because there's a card layout in this called a spiritual development layout, I think it's called, and I could never remember it, you know. And so I'd go back to the book and I'd hunt through and I'd find it, and people would say, how long have you been doing this? I said, it's okay, I wrote this book. I just can't remember this particular layout because I don't use it very much. But every now and again, someone wants to know. They're asking a spiritual question they want to know.
Oh, okay. So if someone, they are in other countries, like I mentioned Canada, England, so how they buy?
Amazon?
Amazon, okay. But they also can the digital one,
Now this is an ebook, and these 2, they're all 3 of them are ebooks. Those ones are ebooks in Chinese language as well.
I saw it's traditional Chinese language. They
are in English as well.
English version, Chinese version, they both have.
And the English version's just got a new cover. They keep changing it because this book turns 30 in March. 30 years old. Still in
30 years old.
Yeah, so that's pretty good, you know. Because if you look at novels and those sort of things, they're lucky if they get 1.5 years, 2 years, you know. And but it's really good. That's what I like about textbooks. Textbooks just keep selling and selling. Now, the reason why this is so simple is because for 4 years I ran 2 courses a year, I ran 8 courses, and actually I think it was 12 in the 3 years. And every time a student asked a question, I wrote it down. And then I thought, add it in. If the students are asking me something, I've missed something out. And so the students help me to make a better book for them, you know? So essentially, basic, more advanced, and if you're going in private practice or you really want to know the tarot backwards, it's this one.
This one is strongly suggest. You mentioned a lot. This one is so strongly suggest. Okay. So you also have this class in here. So
I do.
How people contact you?
Okay, so I run 1 class a year. For this one, it's usually February each year. For that one, I haven't actually run a class in 7 years for this. I don't run them that often, the advanced ones, and they run here in Epping. I'm also doing some advanced ones for this on Zoom. So once a month for 2 hours on Zoom. And we just have, like, for instance, in January's one, it's about yes/no questions. People have a lot of trouble with yes/no questions. When a card's upright, when it's reversed, when it's negative, when it's positive, you know. And so what I just do is I have like 15 yes/no questions, and we go through them one by one. What do you think? And then I ask the clients, people on screen, let me do a reading for you, and so they can watch me do the reading. We can work it out together. They're a little bit different because they're advanced. I want to hear from the students. It's not just about me talking. You know? And so I'm saying, what do you think this means? And people come up with all sorts of things, you know. And sometimes the client says, actually, that one's right. Yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful. So if they want to join, you have the tarot session also, right?
Yeah, and also I do private lessons. I do private lessons on
private lessons. I remember one by one.
Yeah.
So it's so if they will just contact your website or your email.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just put your email.
Okay.
Follow that. Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. I think finish. Anything you think we need to add?
You don't need intuition to read the tarot. It's good to have it, but the teacher who taught me was very much into mathematics, and so he never used his intuition. He said the tarot is a good enough system that you don't need it. And that's the difference between tarot and oracle cards. Oracle cards don't have the foundation that the tarot has, which is a really solid foundation stretching back 600 years or more, you know. And but if you add intuition, then you can get some really good descriptions of people and situations. And I'll give you an example. Just this week, I was reading for a lady, and I said, "It's strange. I don't know what this means because I can't. All I can see is the scene." I said, "I've got a front garden in lawn, and there's a swing, and there's a big hedge, so the people on the street can't see into the garden, and it just looks tranquil." And she said, "You know, 2 nights ago, I was walking with my husband up the street where we live, and I saw exactly that—the tree, the lawn, the swing." And she said, "Wouldn't it be lovely to live in a house like this?" And I thought, wow, you know, so sometimes just those things, you know, and sometimes if someone's asking about a house they're not going to buy for 5 or 10 years, 15 is the longest. I got an email from a woman last year, and she said, 15 years ago, you told me you could see a little old house, dark, small windows, maybe 80, 100 years old. She said, "Oh, I hate old houses, and I want an apartment." And she said, "We've just bought a house that's old. We're going to fix it up, we're going to put skylights in, but it's just the perfect little old house, and it's right next to the sea." So I even asked her one time after that, 6 years after I gave her that reading, because I remembered it, and she said, "No, I haven't found it." And she looked at me like, "I'm not going to find this house. That was imagination. You got the wrong idea there, Paul." And sometimes it happens, you know.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you for your example. Inspire a lot. Yeah, I'm sure they will inspire a lot from your story and examples.
Yeah, the examples are the thing. That's what people remember. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, we finished the video. Bye.
Okay, so let's get the intuition.